Good afternoon from the Canadian Orthodox Monastery of All Saints of North America in Dunedin, British Columbia. And we're beginning our series, All Things Considered again. I want to mention, you can hear a strange sound in the background, perhaps, off and on. It's because there's a raven sitting on the upstairs porch. Keeps pecking at the church window. And he comes every single day and appears to be wanting to try to get into the church. But the sound may come through every now and then. Because we just began the Nativity fast, or the Nativity of Christ, or as the Protestants call it, Advent, I wanted to mention something about fasting. Because there are two approaches to it. One is it's old-fashioned and we don't need to do it anymore. And the other is that we need to suffer when we keep the fast. But I'd like to dispel both of those points of view. Keeping the fast is something that was done also in Israel in what we call Old Testament times. And the prophet says, let the forefasts of Israel, let the forefasts of the year be joy and gladness to Israel. So evidently, they serve some other purpose rather than making us suffer before a feast. I'd like to suggest that keeping the fast has one major purpose. And as we host a chapter of Narcotics Anonymous here at the monastery every week, and have dealt with a lot of people who are addicted to alcohol or drugs, I want to point out that keeping the fast requires self-control and self-discipline. No one can really force you to keep the fast. You have to choose of your own free will to keep it and to what degree you will keep it. But maintaining the fast requires an exercise in self-determination and self-will and in discipline of yourself. Not being disciplined, but having discipline from within. And it's a kind of training course. It's what asceticism really means. Ascesis means training. And it was used for military training, athletic training, and spiritual training. In Slavonic, you use the word podvig, or struggle. Seeing so many people addicted has led us to a fuller understanding of the necessity of self-discipline and self-control. And watching people struggle in Narcotics Anonymous to overcome their addiction. You can't cure addictions. You simply, it's like cancer, it goes into remission. And you have a lifelong struggle with these addictions. And keeping the fast from the youngest age, and understanding that it is training in self-discipline and self-control, is extremely valuable in our era, perhaps more than in previous times, because there's so many temptations and things are so readily available to us. But overcoming an addictive personality, at least controlling an addictive personality, certainly requires whatever struggles we can apply to it. And when we exercise ourselves in self-discipline and self-control in order to keep the fast, having to bear in mind what it means to keep the fast, what we can eat and what we can't eat, what we can participate in and what we cannot participate in. This requires thought, and that requires a bit of wakefulness, a bit of alertness, and being alert about yourself, about what you're doing day by day, and sort of taking a little control of the planning of your day. But this exercise in self-control and self-discipline is what I would like to focus on, because to me it's the most significant aspect of keeping the fast. And for those people who think the fast is old-fashioned and not necessary, that's a very sad attitude, because practically everything that requires wakefulness, awareness of yourself, control of one's own self, discipline about one's own actions and activities, all of this might be considered old-fashioned. We should just give ourselves over to whichever wind that blows. And our spiritual life, our Christian life, would degrade very quickly under such circumstances. So the fast is not there to make us suffer. It's there, of course, to help us come to repentance, because repentance requires wakefulness, and it requires self-control and self-discipline also. But the very act of keeping the fast is a daily struggle during the Lenten period to have this kind of control over our own actions, the things that we consume, and to be wakeful about our own spiritual life. To prepare ourselves certainly for the feast that's forthcoming, but merely to prepare ourselves to celebrate the Nativity of Christ isn't a sufficient reason to keep the fast. Of course, we try to fast from malice and from anger and from lack of forgiveness and all these other spiritual illnesses. And certainly, keeping the fast helps with those. But the self-discipline and self-control that we're practicing helps to keep us from reigniting our hate, our malice, our prejudice, our lack of forgiveness. And this, brothers and sisters, I would like to conclude is how we should really view the fast and how we can apply it to things that we're already addicted to. Taking in mind that it's not just the not eating certain foods, but it's in the thought that we give to why we're following the fast, to what addictions, to what obsessions, to what things that we want to aim this fast period as a struggle against. That's the important part of it. So thank you for joining us, and we'll try to make these broadcasts 2 or 3 times a week. And send us any questions that you might have or any subjects you would like to see us discuss in All Things Considered. Thank you, and God bless you.